Okay. Excellent. Well, Zach, we are now live.
Great. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Salem Public Art Commission. Let's go around real quick and introduce ourselves. My name is Zach Hall, Commissioner, the Chair.
Spencer Emmerich, Commissioner.
I'm Susan Napak. I'm the Vice Chair. Carol, you're
Carol's on mute.
I'm Carol Snyder, President of the Salem Parks Foundation.
Welcome, Carol.
I'm Keith Bonnog-Wynn, Public Works Staff Liaison.
It looks like we also have some guests today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Tom Kapani. I'm the Deputy City Attorney assigned to SPAC.
I'm Lynn Takata.
Hi, Lynn.
I'm Krista Lauer.
Hi, Krista. Welcome. I understand maybe you are going to submit an application to join the commission.
I just recently did, yes.
Wonderful. Great. Looking forward to that. Okay. Our first agenda item is public comment. If anyone wishing to address the commission at this time.
Zach, Commissioner, there was no public comment submitted via email and no requested public testimony live.
Great. In that case, let's go ahead and approve the consent agenda for February 8th and the minutes of the January 11th, 2023 meeting. Yes, Keith?
Chair, I have some changes to the agenda I'd like to offer.
Okay.
The first one is to add Carol Snyder from the Salem Parks Foundation to updates as item number 1. I'd like to also add Tom Kupani from the city's legal department to updates as item number 2. And that'll be followed by SPAC vacancy in the April's in-person SPAC meeting. I'd also like to add under new business the financial update that SPAC wanted to me to provide today, and also an item for Bloomberg Philanthropies Art Challenge. Commissioner Sellers was going to present on that, but she's not, so I can do a little brief snippet on that item.
Okay, great. In that case, do we want to wait? Do we need to wait until the agenda is republished with that information?
No, we can accept it. The agenda is amended.
Okay, great. So I'd like to move that we accept the agenda as amended just now by Keith and the January minutes, January 11, 2023 minutes. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. The consent agenda and January minutes are approved.
Zach, I'm sorry. I don't think we will be able to approve it without quorum, and we're missing one additional. So we can just table that till next meeting and move on to discussion items. Sorry about that.
No problem. So first discussion item is the SPAC visioning discussion. This is something we've been talking about for a few meetings now, trying to kind of understand, I guess, SPAC's role a little bit. Does the city of Salem have a public art vision? Do we have a role in advising about that, discussing it? And we've kind of been discussing various ideas. Over the last few weeks, I had the opportunity to meet with Kate Ali, who's the public arts manager for the city of Eugene, which I thought was very interesting on sort of two fronts. One, there is a public arts manager for the city of Eugene, which is in and of itself something I think we should think about and talk about. And she directed me to look at their public art plan. They have a public art master plan for the city, which is a pretty cool, comprehensive document that touches on almost all of the things we've talked about in the last couple of meetings in a very organized way. I just sent links to Keith to share with everybody, and I was kind of excited looking at that, and it made me think that a lot of the things we've been talking about are in some ways starting to be or could be a job description. Who's gonna hold initiatives for public art programming? Who's holding the responsibilities for outreach? How are we going to, a lot of the things we've been talking about are kind of contained in this approach of having a public art master plan and there being a paid position within the city that sort of holds the responsibility for implementing that plan. The city of Eugene also has an advisory board like us, and that board kind of works laterally with this public art manager. And so I just thought it kind of reinformed my thought about, what our role is as SPAC, and how we might become advocates for a structure like this. Understanding that would of course be up to the city and would be driven by budget and I'm sure other considerations. But I talked to Susan a little bit about it, and I was going to reach out to Kate and see if she would be willing to join one of our meetings in the future and just talk to us a little bit about how Eugene has organized their public arts management program. Again, sort of something, as I read through that public art plan, I thought, maybe we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can borrow. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, I guess, as it is said. Maybe we could borrow from some nearby similarly situated cities that also have these needs. And I also thought it might be interesting to look at Olympia, which, as you know, is I believe it's where our new city manager worked before. They also have a public art staff and a public art plan. So it kind of looked, I was thinking, what are other cities up and down the I-5 corridor in the Willamette Valley, in a capital city in the case of Washington, and in another sort of Willamette Valley city in the case of Oregon? What are they doing? How is it working there? Because I think as we've gone through these conversations, it's felt like there's kind of this missing piece, right? Of like, is it really our job to come up with a vision, or is it really the city kind of needs to come up, or we would advocate that the city might come up with a vision and a master plan, and that we and the future members of SPAC would have a role in advising and facilitating and providing volunteer support in the implementation of that plan. So I don't know, Susan, if you have anything to add to that, but I would encourage everyone to look at those links and see if you find them as inspiring as I found them, and we could sort of use them as a platform to talk about. Not today.
It's pretty comprehensive and you can read through it. They even have questions to a survey that they did, which they don't have the questions. I think maybe we could ask, what is her name? Jen, is that her name?
Kate Ali.
Right. Yeah. We could ask her for what the questions were, but there's incorporated in this whole plan are the answers, and then some of the it looks like it might have been multiple choice questions, but they sort of directed the answers, and then there's a lot of comments that they got from the community also. One thing that's come up in a lot of discussions that I've had with various people in the arts community, people who've been on the commission before, is, there really should be a dedicated staff person for arts and culture in Salem, under which would fall, the Public Art Commission and various other art and culture. I mean, Salem is, overflowing with, we have, we just did that list of arts organizations. I sort of updated the ones from Barbara had missed a whole bunch of them, and I was a little more familiar. I mean, we have at least a dozen arts organizations that are thriving in Salem, and we have this, really beaming art community that really needs the city involvement and city planning. And that would be, a public art plan would be a really good way to start. And they also have all sorts of other programs that are going on underneath this art plan. So I encourage everyone to take a look at it. I would love to have Kate come and talk to us. I know that the city is absolutely strapped for funding right now, from what I'm understanding. This could be a long range plan instead of sort of piecemeal. We've been attacking things piecemeal, like, let's try to make it easier to do murals, which we really still need to do. But, and other things that let's do outdoor pieces and let's do this. It could all be incorporated in a plan, with a dedicated staff person. If we could come up for the funding for that, we could think of creative ways to do that. So I was really excited when Zach showed this to me. I did get in touch with someone from Olympia. I realized, I did talk to somebody a while back in their public art. They have a lot of various little programs, like doing artwork around utility boxes and things that you see, like in Tualatin. I just saw them in Tualatin. They're really wonderful and colorful and add a lot to the city. So they have various programs like that, but they are now also developing a public art program. They have a mural. They don't have a mural program. They do have a public art program. They don't have a mural program per se. They just encourage businesses and artists to get together, and they have sort of a framework, but they are developing a mural program. But it would be interesting to delve more into what Olympia is doing too, and also possibly to talk to the city manager. I don't know whether we as a commission can go directly to the city manager and sit down and talk to him, or invite him here to one of our meetings. Also, I know that some of the other commissions and advisory boards have a representative from the city council as that liaisons with the group. And I didn't know if that was ever something that happened with the art commission, public art commission. And I think it would be, have as many channels open as possible to get our feelings and thoughts known about this. And also, what is a procedure for us? Let's say we wanted to advise that there should be a public art plan, and that we want to, recommend and advise that this happen. What are the channels to do that? Are we, we're basically a commission that is charged with a sort of limited role in terms of the art collection, but can we also advise on this and other aspects of art and culture in Salem?
I think so, Susan. Commissioner Napak, looking at Zach, Chair Hull's framework, I think that set it up nicely. And if you can, later on during the meeting, I'll show you that slideshow I put together, kind of combine the annual accomplishments and annual report with sort of Zach's framework towards the end, with the goal of presenting to council as an annual report. And it could go and add a little bit more as to the vision. So I think there is a direct way for you to communicate with council members. And at that point, you may, talk about seeking someone that might want to serve or participate on the commission. So I have some of the dates and deadlines towards the end of the meeting to discuss that as well.
Great. Thanks, Keith. Yeah, if everyone could take a look at that, I think it might, be a way for us to think about how to organize ourselves, as we're advocating for a public art plan. We've drawn on some examples of what other cities are doing. and we're going to work on whatever pieces of that we think we can work on as the commission, with the goal of making it, of maybe slowly developing the pieces of the public art plan that then could be picked up and formalized at some point by the city or a dedicated staff person. But it might give us a framework to kind of operate in, because it is very nicely articulated. And so rather than trying to reinvent all of that, we could kind of see what pieces of that might be appropriate for Salem. For example, they have a like 3-part mural program that's already sort of developed, which touches on many of the kinds of things we've talked about trying to do in the city of Salem. So there's a lot to draw on there. It did occur to me that maybe we would want to take a look at that and let it inform our survey questions a little bit more. And maybe we want to like push the survey question topic one meeting in order to have a chance to look at those and see what they did. And maybe, so that was I don't know if anyone else sort of sees that, but it occurred to me that maybe give people a chance to look through what they've done and incorporate some of it.
Chair Hall,
Yes.
may I share with you I compiled the questions that people submitted. I was hoping to get a lot more, but maybe this will give people the opportunity to do it. But essentially, I took your framework, broke it up into the top 3 categories, and then organized the questions around them in terms of, what do you know about SPAC, about public murals, about street painting programs? Organized questions about where do you go for information? How do they consume it? And then what do you do? How do you engage with the public art? And then asking, what do you want? And it occurred to me, what do you want as part of the public art collection? And then what do you want as part of a community arts program? And I think that really outlines the questions we want. So I will send this out back to the group and add your questions after reflecting on the Eugene's plan.
Great. Thank you so much, Keith.
You're welcome.
So I don't know if anyone wants to talk about the survey questions specifically today, but maybe we want to just follow that path right now and take another look at them, look at the Eugene plan, and then address that again and try to kind of finalize what we want to ask in this round. Keith, I saw that you had also sent a link to the public art files. That
Yes.
Looks like we have a read-only access now.
Yes, last month the commission requested access to the Salem Public Art Commission files so that commissioners will be able to develop a social media schedule. And so I was able to work with IT to provide you access through OneDrive. It gives me notices as to who accesses it. And so far I haven't seen anyone access it, but you do have the links. Oh, you have? Excellent. Did you have any issues with it?
Well, it's a little confusing. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot on there, and I was wondering if there's a way to say, I want to see all the murals. I want to see, only murals. I want to see only paintings. I want to see only paintings in the library. Just because it's just. I don't even know what order it's in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the resource for that would be the actual internet site with the story map. It has all of the specific, where they're located. The files in the folder system is essentially a historic repository, of all of this information. And so there's images, there's historical newspaper clippings. So you would really have to go. I would love for a document management system to be able to track each of the images and the corresponding documents with it. We just haven't had the time or personnel or, effort to do that. But a person full-time, dedicated to public art could do something like this for sure.
Yeah. Just to explain to our visitors that this are, I don't know if you want to explain it, Keith, that we want to start submitting information to the city to post on their social media about the collection. So this was a way of finding out more about the collection and pinpointing as much information and, putting together some interesting posts based on that.
And we think in those records for many of the pieces, there's already kind of written down some historical information, key identifying information, title, date, artist, maybe a description, maybe a kind of show card text or something like that. So there's a fair amount of information in there if we can find it.
Yeah,
That-
I think there was a separate label file too, if I'm not mistaken. That might be the new labels that were made for the library. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's only read access.
Well,
If you
maybe
find oh, go ahead.
No, go, please.
It's only read access, so if you find you need
Go
to
ahead, please.
download or anything else, let me know and I can give you those rights.
And are we, I understood from an email that perhaps Krista, if she joins the commission, was interested in bringing her robust social media skills to our collective skill set.
Yeah, I listened into your last meeting as well and kind of heard your initial discussion about this. And yeah, that's absolutely something that if chosen, I would be absolutely thrilled to take part in and help out with.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that into the discussion. That'd be a wonderful addition. Thank you. So Keith, it looks like you have a slideshow for council and neighborhood association presentations. Is that something that is drafted or am I?
Yes, I have it drafted and I can share it with the group now if
Yeah.
Okay. Let
That'd be
me
great.
figure out how to share a screen. Let's go with that one. Let's hit from the beginning. I can't see what you see. Okay. Nope, that's the wrong screen. Okay, what do you guys see right now? I'm sorry.
It's a grid of look like all of the things that you do. And
We're
that's
looking at, that's the Salem, yeah. That's the report and update to city council.
Is that the presentation you see?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, excellent. So yes, this would be the 2022 report that we would have given, that the chair would have given in December of 2022, but we waited so that council will meet in person now. And so we have some options. The soonest we could go to council would be February 27th, but I would have to submit this presentation to the powers that be by the end of the day. So it might be a little tight. But what it is essentially outlines what city council recognizes as important for community in terms of art. And it talks about the public art in city code, and it's made of 7 volunteer commissioners. It talks about the responsibilities acquiring, stewarding, and managing the public art fund, as well as the public art collection. The public art collection has over 100 pieces. In 2017, it was valued at $1.37 million. It's located indoor and outdoor and has a wide variety of media. In 2022, the main exhibits and tours in the library hall, we had 4 different exhibits, 1 per quarter. And we also participate in the Civic Center 50th anniversary celebration art tours with the public. The SPAC continued in 2022. Oh, go ahead, Susan.
sorry. That art hall in with those exhibitions, weren't they sponsored by the Oregon Artists Series Foundation, and they had really nothing to do with the the public collection or anything that we did. I don't know if
Okay.
that matters. It was that, they're a separate nonprofit group, and they're the ones that are now charged with having exhibitions in that particular hall.
Got it.
There were all the updates and everything of the art, the new art in the library. I don't know what year that officially happened, but like Amanda Wojcik, I forget how to.
Yeah, Wojciech.
Yeah, she's got that piece that you had the image of.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of the city collection, but these exhibitions really were sponsored by someone else. So I don't
Got
know.
it. Okay, I can make adjustments to this one. Yeah. And then SPAC in 2022, they added murals to the collection. The three were the Valley Roofing, the Salem First Baptist Church, and the Pacific Coast Producers. SPAC continues to select new projects for Percent for Art. The Public Works Operations Building is you worked on that in 2022. Selected 2 artists, one to do the exterior entryway and one to do the interior wallpaper and drawing. In 2022, SPAC helped create the street painting program. Susan is very familiar with this in the Grant neighborhood. Yes.
I'm sorry that I keep being a thorn in your side, though.
No.
The Art Commission really didn't have anything to do with the street painting program. So, it's under, I see it in the website, it's under there. But when we developed that program, it really did not run through the commission at all. It was all through Public Works and the neighborhood. So I don't know if we can claim that as something that the Art Commission has done either.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think it's wonderful and it should be touted, but it's not, the Art Commission was never, as far as I know, never even consulted about it.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's move on to the next one. Maintenance needs. We oversaw the repair of the Guidance of Youth, but it was paid for through Parks funding. We selected a contractor to repair the drummer, even though final plans have not been made for returning it to the City Hall. City crews tackled graffiti, directing crews to repair Equitas, and then we need to implement the maintenance plans for the collection. That's plans for this year. Looking ahead, the Eco Earth Globe fundraising campaign, the acquisition of the Library Art Foundation collection, and continued Percent for Art from infrastructure bond projects like the Civic Center, Peace Plaza upgrades, and park restroom facilities. And then this is where Zach could go and talk into the various elements of the framework and vision for SPAC. But Susan, no, it's well noted, and I will adjust the slides to reflect what you said.
But Keith, maybe, it's interesting. I think that seeing that presentation kind of gives some context to where we started today with, maybe the need for a public art plan. What it looks to me like is that there are sort of tendrils growing from different directions, right? There are nonprofit groups putting on shows in city buildings. There is Public Works approving mural plans. There's SPAC trying to figure out what the public wants and how to engage more with the city. There's a vision discussion. Should we have so these different movements it's not really within SPAC's, or realm of responsibility to coordinate all of that stuff, but the stuff is happening and maybe should be coordinated so that it can be talked about in a coherent, unified way. Opportunities to sync up can be discussed. Nonprofit groups that are interested in participating their energy and enthusiasm can be captured. Our volunteer energy can be captured in a more productive way. Just seeing this stuff, like I think we all have the idea, like, oh, SPAC should somehow be involved in this. But I think really what is maybe more true is all of these efforts should be coordinated. I don't know that is SPAC's role, but we're seeing it and we're feeling the tension to engage with that coordinating. And so we're sort of thinking, well, is this our role? Like, should we do this? Is this really something a volunteer group could ever do? I don't know. My instinct is probably not. Like, you need the city to really to hold it and prioritize it with funding and with staff and with a plan. And then once that sort of, then SPAC can really be, its job is a piece of this overall art ecosystem, public art ecosystem. And right now I think it's a little, but I think leaving those slides in there, but maybe saying like, here's things that are happening. Here's things that are happening in the city of Salem that SPAC is seeing and
support.
Wants to support and wants to find a way to engage with, but isn't sure it's within our bailiwick, and we don't want to step outside of our boundaries. But so maybe what we can help do is define the conversation, define the framework. Here's what's happening, and there's starting to be more of it, and maybe there's an opportunity to begin to coordinate all of these different activities and link them together and articulate a public art plan for the city of Salem.
I think even maybe one slide, like with the Eco Art Globe also, I think Carol would probably agree, it's not a public art commission project in the least. We're being briefed on it, and also the street painting and the art hall and the library. I think maybe you could put all of those on a separate slide with some kind of heading saying, I don't know what you could say. I mean, we're being briefed on these things and we're excited about them, but they don't really come at this point under our charge, but we do, I mean, there might be a way to word it saying that we really think they should, that there should be a kind of an umbrella for the arts and culture in Salem. It's just we're not charged with that right now. So I don't know how you say that, but I think you should have it in there. I think it definitely should be in there because it's it spices it up. It shows how much how many wonderful things are going on and in Salem, but the reality is that that's not our job. So,
or we're not sure it's our job.
We're not sure it's our job. I mean, it's not in any of the code. It's not in any of the description of what we do. Other than in the introduction where it says that I don't know the language about how important arts are to Salem, but when you boil it down, we have a very narrow, or at least the way that I read it. At this point, it's pretty narrow, which I think should change.
Carol, I can see that you have some thoughts, but you've been on mute, so I don't know if you were interjecting in there. But we can hear from in a moment. Or now, I guess. Do we want to?
Carol, do you want to unmute yourself so we can hear your thoughts?
Oh, you're still muted. You're still muted there, Carol. You're on mute. Okay. Still on mute. There you go.
Okay. Why don't we wait till we get to my section?
Okay.
And I will address what
great.
Susan was talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, so I think that takes us through to updates, unless anyone has any other.
I saw Irma pop on. Did she want to say something?
I did see. Yep, I did see her, but I think she popped off yet. So.
Oh, maybe she joined the wrong. Okay, but yeah, she would be the person who we would CC when we email the neighborhood association chairs to be put on the agenda. So she would ensure that happens. And we can do that slideshow or any other slideshow that we choose to do to talk about SPAC.
I did mention it I went to the chairs meeting that was just, I don't know, last week sometime or a week and a half ago. And I did kind of do a little heads up to the chairs that that the commission would be reaching out to come and talk to them at some point.
So can we talk for a minute about, so you said that we would have to finalize by the end of today if we were going to take part in a council meeting on the 27th. That seems like a bit of a stretch given the stuff that I think we should try to digest. And
Yes. Let me share with you more information on how that works. If you see my screen, in blue is a council date. So for instance, February 27th, we would have to submit this draft to the Public Works Director for review today. By the end of the day, essentially. Then it will go to legal for their review and then docket with the city manager. And then we will be able to then present on February 27th. So at this time, it sounds like we would like to take more time to, formulate maybe even the questions or, but this is the calendar we would go by in order to report to council. SPAC has fulfilled its legal commitment to provide city council with a report by the end of the year. So this is on top of what we would normally have to do. So
okay.
And I will include this at the note with the minutes so that Chair can refer to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think that would be a great opportunity once we get our ducks in a row to go and present to council everything that we're thinking about.
Agreed. Updates. So I jumped it on a little bit on SPAC vacancy there, sorry. But Keith, are there other, obviously I know Krista's put in an application, are there other?
Yes, there's been one change. So we have one vacancy, but Janelle Lilly submitted her resignation today. Her work with Salem Health is untenable at the moment with a lot of layoffs, and so she's picking up a lot of the responsibilities and won't be able to attend, especially our in-person meeting during the daytime. So for those reasons, she sadly submitted it. But I encouraged her to come back again whenever it slows down. So we currently have 2 vacancies on the commission, and I will update the website today.
And would you remind us or send around what qualifications that vacancy opens up, or what the candidate would need to what kind of background the candidate would need to have to?
Yes, Janelle Lilly's position is experience in landscape architecture, real estate development, or community foundations, and she was with Salem Health. And the other vacancy is a person experienced in museum curation, art restoration, or art appraisal.
Krista, is that you?
Okay.
Yes, that's what I applied for.
Wonderful.
Excellent. When did you submit your application, Krista? Just so I can see it through the process.
Yeah, it was last week.
Last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I get your feedback real quick on the application process since you just completed it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it was pretty straightforward. I will say 2 of the questions were phrased in kind of a similar manner that I didn't know what information to put on which. I think it was like, what do you think you could bring to it? And then what qualifies you to be on this, which I just feel like are kind of intertwined. But no, I thought it was pretty intuitive and
okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess everyone be thinking about and talking to people you might know who could be interested in applying for that now newly vacant position that is being opened up, so we can try to keep the commission staffed. We had
Keith,
talked,
sorry, do we know when the group is meeting again? The people who are deciding on the applications?
The boards and commissions, they meet, they review applications as they come in, but they meet quarterly to advise the city manager and or mayor in their selection.
Do you-
and when
do
is
we
that
have
next?
Yeah.
That next one, I don't not know. I need to check it. Let me look on the city's calendar. We can continue.
Great. So we had discussed having an in-person meeting.
Was
in-
Carol supposed to be before these items or?
Yeah, I wasn't sure when, Keith, you said there were a couple of people providing.
Oh yeah,
updates.
they were before. I'm sorry.
You can jump in now if you like.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it, Carol. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. First of all, I guess I need to say that Salem Parks Foundation is under the impression that the Eco Earth Globe is definitely in the purview of SPAC. We offered to help raise money for it, but we thought we were sort of working with SPAC and definitely with Public Works on that. It's we dealt with Heather and Chris Darcy all along, and Peter Fernandez, but
I'm pretty sure it is part of the city's collection.
It
Yeah,
is okay.
Yeah, it's in
I
city's
wasn't
collection.
sure on
yeah,
that.
good. Um,
Sorry, I apologize. It's indeed the case. I didn't get that impression, but
yeah, well, good. We will carry on. We have been raising money from individuals, and we've applied for some grants. We haven't had a lot of luck with the grants. We've gotten 2 small grants that we expected to be larger, and then we have a grant sort of from the Oregon Cultural Advocacy Coalition of Oregon. It was a very extensive grant, and we were one of the chosen projects, but it turns out what they do is recommend projects to the legislature. So we're still working through that, because now we have to do the legislative persuasion part. And that was $150,000, which we hope the legislature will approve with this group's recommendation. We've made $48,000 in individual donations.
Wow, that's great.
But we're aiming for 300,000. The city has kicked in 112,000, and the project is $400,000. So we've got a ways to go, and we hope that we have that we get the legislature. They recommended 17 projects statewide, and just recently, I hope you guys got notice of it, that the legislature has formed an Oregon Arts and Cultural Caucus, and their launch event is February 27th. So it would be good if some of you could attend that, and that's at Hallie Ford Museum in the evening. And we're going to go there. Deb Patterson from Salem is one of the members of that caucus, which is good. So
What's the date on that, Carol, again?
February 27th, which is the day of the city council
meeting.
meeting. Yeah,
Yeah.
that you're hopefully not going to go to. So yeah.
there's an RSVP for that if anybody wants.
Yes, there is an RSVP. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want it, I have it. If you want me to forward it, or Carol, you could forward it, or maybe send it to Keith, or I don't know how.
Yeah, I could forward that.
Yeah, so you have to actually create an account on Splash in order to RSVP for it. So it's a little tricky, but
I'll apologize in advance. I'm going to be in DC that week for a work commitment, so I won't be able to attend, unfortunately. But
well,
yeah, I don't know how much room they have for many people, but it would be good, I think, if somebody from SPAC could be there.
I plan to be there, Carol.
Yay.
Already RSVP'd.
And then there are some other legislative dates that we need to go to still work on that amount of money. But coming up, we have an event planned that we hope you can all come to to celebrate Earth Day. We've enlisted the help of Salem Indigenous Now, who will do a program of dancing and drumming at the Jerry Frank Rotary Amphitheater in the afternoon of Earth Day. And we're just now trying to find some sponsors for that event, but we're working on our flyers and whatnot. But that's on the schedule for the city, and in keeping with the agreement that Peter Fernandez, whom I miss already, said he would do for our project with helping with publicity and that the city is letting us use the stage for free, and so that's helpful.
What date is that?
That's April 22nd is Earth Day, and that's a Saturday this year, which is good. And that should be it's in the afternoon between 3 and 4:30 is our program. But they did a wonderful program on Indigenous Peoples Day 2 years ago that I attended, and so we were happy that they were willing to perform and be there too. We figure if anybody knows about stewarding the earth, it should be them. So we were glad that they could do it. So we have that coming, and that's a benefit. We're not charging for the event, but we will make it very clear that we hope for donations, and there'll be plenty of opportunity at the time to donate to the fund for Eco Earth. I don't know if I have anything more to report, but I would take any questions.
Thank you, Carol. So if I heard you, there's a $400,000 budget, and we're $190,000 there or something like that.
We hope it's 197,000. Yes. Well,
so almost halfway.
There's the $400 budget. We're at 297,000 because the city already kicked in 100,000.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we're working on a $300,000 share. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Is there a plan, Carol, of exactly what the what's going to happen with repairing it, what the details are, what the
Yeah, the city hired Architectural Resources Group, and they did an assessment, and they recommend bringing in a restoration group. It might even be them, I'm not sure. But the city will, once they have the funding in hand or pledged, the city will put out a bid for a group to come in and do the work. It won't be volunteer work like the first project was. This will be a restoration company that will come in and do it. And they think it will only take about 2 months from start to finish once they get going. But in the meantime, the artist who oversaw all the wonderful ceramic icons that are on the globe, Mary Heinzman, is working with artists and students and repairing those individual icons that will then be put back on the globe by the company that comes in to do the work.
Irma, I see that you have your hand raised.
Yes, hello, Irma Coleman with the City of Salem, out of the City Manager and Mayor's Office. I just wanted to mention to Carol and just remind you that you and I had talked at an event at Lansing Park in December, and so my offer still stands that if you come across, if you create some flyers in regards to raising money or funds for the Globe, English and Spanish, I would be more than happy then to share those when I'm out and about for those that aren't very familiar with what I do, I work very closely with all 17 neighborhood associations. So I go to a lot of those meetings, but I also attend a lot of community events and club meetings as well. So I have a lot of people that I get to meet on a daily basis, and I would love to share whatever, flyers, brochures, or information that you, Carol, or anybody here would like me to do for you. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roma, for joining us. Keith, there were some other updates, I think. Does anyone have any other questions for Carol this time? All right. Thank you, Carol. Keith,
Chair,
yeah.
Chair
Yeah.
Hall, it is Tom Kopani has an update regarding the code change language for murals.
Great.
Right.
Buddy, so it looks like we will have something to present to the commission next meeting to try to address some of the issues that Councilor Nishioka raised, and hopefully we'll be able to clarify where murals, public murals will be allowed. So that'll be coming next time. I have been out of the office for a little while on a family matter, and so the work ground to a halt, I'm afraid. So we'll have something for you next meeting. This wasn't part of what I was going to talk about, but you all did raise some good issues about SPAC's role. SPAC is conceived mostly as an organ that is here to administer the public or the city's art collection. It wasn't originally conceived as an organization that was intended to encourage art in the community as a whole. That's not to say that it can't be, but that is definitely beyond its charter. And so there probably would need to be a code amendment if you wanted to become more of an arts commission rather than an administrator of the public arts or the city's art collection. We'll point out that the city manager by code is an ex officio member of the commission, so it's entirely appropriate for him to be invited to these meetings, and he has a place as an ex officio member of the committee. So if you want to invite him to come and listen to topics or have a conversation, that's entirely appropriate. I would also remind you that you all do have the right to approach city council as individuals, and if there are art issues that you want the city council to focus on, you can do so as private citizens. And so if you have that, if you have ideas that you want to raise before them, there is a public comment period at every council meeting, and you can raise those kinds of issues. You just need to make clear that you're not there representing the commission. So, Keith, were there other things that you wanted me to talk about?
There was one. If Commissioner Napak asked if someone worked for an organization that received funds from SPAC or the city, are they able to serve on the commission?
They can serve on the committee or on the commission, but they might have to recuse themselves on issues where it might benefit the group that they're working for. My office, because ethics issues are ones of personal liability, my office can't give legal advice to individual commission members about how they should conduct their role if there's a potential conflict of interest. But the state runs a very good governmental ethics program that is available on the internet, and their staff is very forthcoming when questions come up if somebody's got an issue. But there's nothing in and of itself that prevents somebody who's part of a group that does business with the commission from being on the commission. They just might be precluded from acting on certain items.
And Tom, the third item was a residency requirement for serving on the commission.
Right, and I think we both looked at this, Keith, and there isn't a residency requirement for SPAC. There is a residency requirement for some of the other boards and commissions, but SPAC does not have that requirement.
And I think those are all the questions I had.
I saw some hands.
Could you speak just a little bit more about, I understood I think I understood what you were saying about SPAC's role. So, but I want to say it back, make sure I'm understanding. So SPAC was not conceived as a sort of advisory board. It was conceived of as a collection management group, which is what I heard you say. And if SPAC wanted to, and this is where I'm not quite clear, so I'll pause on the intent side. It would, a code change would be required for SPAC to act differently. Is it appropriate for SPAC to advocate for that, or is it? This is where I guess I'm not quite clear how that change happens. Is it a top down? You know, do you understand what I'm asking? Like,
I do, and I mean, it can happen a number of different ways. You know, it could be a staff discussion where you know, staff relays the issue that's being contemplated with you know, the public works director, who currently has responsibility for SPAC, and then, you know, probably an ensuing conversation with the city manager, and there would be a decision about whether the city manager wants to undertake a code change in order to expand SPAC's scope. You can, as I mentioned previously, as individuals, raise that issue with the council. There's nothing wrong with the group communicating with the city council, suggesting that that SPAC's charge be expanded, and so you could as a group raise that, but you'll need a quorum to make that to allow that to happen. So so you can, you know, simply transmit by way of letter what your thoughts are, and those can then be that letter can be forwarded to the city council as an information matter, and that'll generate conversation, and you know, they'll decide. You know, folks have correctly identified that money in these next few years is going to be a tremendous issue for the city, particularly for things that are funded through the general fund, and so some of the things that you're talking about might be a very difficult pull, and so.
Yep. Understood. Okay, thank you. That was helpful, Susan.
I have a couple questions. One is just for me, just understanding the city structure in terms of the groups that advise. There are commissions, And then I recently learned that there are advisory boards as well. There's that, it's the parks one that's got a very weird or something like that. What is the difference between a commission and advisory board?
Well, okay, so an advisory board is actually a third kind of thing. There's really no difference between a board or a commission that I've been able to identify as a practical matter. Advisory boards are usually ad hoc groups that the city council decides to form to speak on a particular issue, like the climate action plan. That was an advisory board that got formed at the city council's behest, and their job is to make specific recommendations to the city council and to the city manager. Some permanent boards have advisory functions, but aren't called advisory boards. They're just called boards. So it's a little bit of a term of art.
Yeah, because I saw it was the parks, the Salem parks, and they seem to have a pretty substantial group that advise on an ongoing basis and are pretty active in doing. I'm a little unclear the difference between somebody like them and.
Well, and it's because their charter, their creation in the code provides for that advisory role, and SPAC, when it was originally conceived, was created to assist with a specific problem, which was the city was acquiring works of art and not doing a particularly good job of administering them or managing them or even keeping track of them. And so the idea was that there would be this group of knowledgeable people that would be able to give advice to the city about and technical assistance to the city about how to administer its own art collection.
So would there be any benefit? I mean, I don't want this discussion to go on too long, but that if SPAC wants to change its role to be more advisory, is there a benefit to staying a commission versus being an advisory board?
Well, again, an advisory board is an ad hoc type.
So it goes away.
So it goes away once it
Okay.
gives its advice.
Okay.
Probably what you're contemplating is that you would have in your sort of purposes part of the code section that deals with SPAC, a statement that one of SPAC's areas of authority would be to advise the city council on matters of art in the community, or
Got it.
however you want to sort of term that.
Right.
And so that would then expand, and that would be a real change for the city, because much like the ethics commission that the city also has, it's really intended to be an inward-facing type commission that gives advice to the city, whereas you're now talking about going sort of external to the city and operating in the community as a resource to encourage, this art and art-related behavior.
Right. Okay. One other thing, Keith had mentioned something about that there might be some shifting in terms of whether SPAC will be still under Public Works. Is that something that would change?
I'm sorry, you trailed off there.
I'm just wondering whether we'd be like under the Department of Community Development with the library and things like that, or what are we staying?
I don't know that the plans have been completely settled on how things are going to be configured. I think that's certainly a possibility. I mean, from a just a logical standpoint, it probably would make sense to group the Arts Commission and the library and maybe some other things like that together. But
Preservation.
I haven't really been privy to those conversations about how that reorganization is going to take place. And so I don't want to mislead you or give you bad information. So my answer is I don't know.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tom. So hearing that, there's some real implications for the kinds of things we talk about on our agendas. And I would say, for example, most of it is probably outside of our scope of the last few weeks. So we don't, visioning, community outreach, marketing, all this stuff is stuff that I think naturally think needs to happen in the city of Salem, but I don't know that it currently resides within SPAC. And so there's a real, but I think it is appropriate once we have a quorum, as Tom pointed out, for us to as a group say and acknowledge that there is this energy need for a conversation, and maybe just transmit that to city council so that they are aware of it and can take whatever actions they want to take. But I think I'm increasingly aware of this tension of like, we all as citizens, I think, intuitively looking at the kinds of things we want to talk about, think there needs to be, we see an opportunity for arts outreach and arts programming, but that is not what we are here to do. So I think we can try to facilitate that conversation with the city, but then we should probably draw some boundaries around what we do in our public meetings. And, until such time as the city's, changes the code or expands our role or comes to us to engage in that conversation and use us as resources, then, we're really here to talk about collection management, as I understand it. So that sounds like, am I paraphrasing you, Tom?
I mean, it's a little bit more subtle than that, and I'm not trying to throw shade there. I'm just, I mean, there is a component of encouraging art education that is part of your charter, and so I think there's a lot of room to maneuver within that, the understanding of that term. But I mean, some of the things that I think you're talking about really aren't art education, but really art encouragement. And so, that may be trying to decide how many angels dance on the head of a pin.
Sure.
I don't think anyone's going to get too upset if we take an expansive view of what art education is. And so, so you do have a little bit of maneuverability currently, but it's really true. SPAC is an inward-facing organization as vis-a-vis the rest of the city, and it was really created to sort of solve a administration problem that it was not being dealt with terribly well years ago.
But then they also got pulled back into the conversation for approving public murals, which is the city asset part. And then now,
yeah. I mean, so the mural thing is a hybrid program that's been put into SPAC's, specifically into SPAC's authority, and so. You have a specific charge as to the public mural program and how it relates to the sign code. And so that's a situation where, I mean, quite frankly, that the public mural piece of your job came on later after SPAC was created. And so, but I think when they were discussing it, it seemed like a natural place to put that that program. So I mean, so there have been changes over the years of SPAC scope and reach, and please don't hear me saying that a further expansion isn't possible. It's just it's not what we've done up until now, and as we are entering into a time of fiscal rigor, it might be difficult to have such an expansion.
Understood. Well, I think it helps. I don't take your remarks as discouraging. I think that it will help us to have clarity around the role on SPAC, and then what kind of conversations we might suggest that the city engage in, whether with us or amongst themselves. And I think SPAC can make that suggestion. And then I think we as individuals can make that same suggestion directly to council, which we should do. Because for all the reasons that we've discussed today, as the capital city of Oregon, Salem deserves a public art plan. and I'm happy to carry that advocacy, whether it's through SPAC or individually. But it's an important thing, I think, for us to think about. Whether it can get funded immediately or not is another issue, but to think about it as an aspirational goal for the city, I think is important. So
And there
all right,
might be, I'm sorry, Zach,
no, go ahead.
there might be certain things that we can, if it's a plan that could be phased in, there might be certain things that could be changed without requiring immediate funding that still could be changed. Like even if the mural code, didn't no longer included the fact that it needed to become part of the collection, which I guess we'd have to change our role in order to do that, because we only deal with things that are part of the public, art collection. But that, that we could possibly change that mural code without incurring any, cost, but it would also mean that we would be changing our role somewhat and maybe phase it in, with a plan, in stages.
Great. So turning back to any more questions for Tom? Thank you, Tom, for your time.
Sure, and I'm going to bow out. I've got another meeting that I've got to run to. And Keith, was there anything else? I want to make
Nope.
sure.
It
Okay.
was really valuable. Thank you, Tom.
All right. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you. So returning to the agenda, we talked about vacancies, and we have also talked about having an in-person meeting in April. Thanks, Keith, for putting that up on the screen.
Yep. So city has policy 2.88, which requires us to live stream any in-person meetings. We can't have anyone joining us virtually from in-person meetings, so everyone will have to attend in person, commissioners and guests. This letter I drafted is just boilerplate going to the Public Works Director requesting that and ensuring them that we have the technology in that room.
Great.
And so I will, if you're okay with the draft, I will send a DocuSign via email to route it through.
Perfect.
Okay.
So you're saying though that no one can, it's not like a Zoom call that we could have somebody, it's not hybrid. It's not
hybrid.
All
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be all in person. But they'll be able to live stream it, so people will be able to view it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's great, especially in light of all the things that we want to discuss.
Yeah.
Coming up, I think it's really good to be face to face.
And I think it might be good to invite the ex officio city manager, because he was the Bloomberg philanthropies. He's really excited about that.
Mhm.
And understands that there's lots of legwork in the back that needs to be done in order to meet, some future deadlines. So
Mhm. Great. And I know that he spoke at the neighborhood chairperson meeting that Irma held for all the chairs that I kind of crashed as a communications person rather than a chair. But he was talking about rearranging the structure and hiring deputies, and that's where I think possibly our situation might change too, based on how he's going to be rejuggling.
Yep.
So I'd love to hear that from him. Yeah.
definitely.
Great.
Yeah,
Now that
okay.
we have quorum, would you like me to take action and invite the mayor, or I'm sorry, the city manager to our next meeting? Are we prepared for that?
Quorum? Do we have quorum?
Yeah, Spencer dropped out, so the
Oh,
the
one,
meeting.
two. Oh, shoot. We
Yeah.
had one and one out. Okay, next one.
Um,
Okay. Would you like me to continue with maintenance updates?
yes, please.
Okay. The Equitas, we're working on it. They don't have any updated pictures. We should have them for next one. Waldo Stewards, they haven't finished with the graffiti repair yet. They will send it once it's complete. I tapped the stormwater department, and when the weather gets warmer and they hook up their water truck, I've had them committed to come and help me wash out the Good Sense statue in the safe parking lot. So that should
Let-
be early spring.
Yeah, let me know if you need some help. I'm happy to come out there.
Will
Scrub.
do. And then the drummer and the rooster. I just wanted to note that at the last meeting we determined that it will not be returning to water, and that it will go with Alan Dannon's planning of the Civic Center Peace Plaza redo.
Great.
Yep.
New business. You mentioned the Bloomberg. Is that something we're talking about today?
Yes, I'm just going to briefly just talk about it. So Mayor Hoy actually reached out and sent me a invitation along with Councilor Nishioka, who attended the meeting. I sent out that invite to the commission, SPAC commission, and Barbara Sellers Young was able to attend as well. That was a really exciting webinar. The deadline for this year is February 15th, so we were definitely not ready for that. But the two big takeaways is that it is a $1 million grant granted to cities, so usually mayors. They are looking for strong partnerships. So community members, tribal members, cities, states, counties, whoever we can get together. And they are focusing on temporary art installations, not so much capital art installations. And so when the city manager emailed asking feedback, I provided the feedback that we will need one, a good strong stakeholder group, and two, possibly pave the way in city code for the ability for residents and organizations to install temporary art, because currently we don't really have anything for temporary art. It would be all under sign code. So, and he thanked me for the perspective, and so I think he's primed for visiting SPAC. But the Bloomberg one is, they don't plan to come out next year with it. It could be every 2-year grant cycle, so it gives us the community an opportunity to form these partnerships. And I will provide you the link in the minutes as well.
They're a huge champion for street painting, asphalt street painting, Bloomberg, around the world. And I know that they give grants specifically for that as well, but I think they were doing international grants. Was that discussed? Or is that kind of now in with all temporary?
Well, I know they do a lot of grants, but this one is specifically called the Bloomberg Philanthropies City Art Challenge. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for going to that.
Yeah, it was interesting. One of the ones that they had was they looked at dump sites, traditional dumping sites within neighborhoods, and cleaned it up and installed art installations so the public could, traffic it a lot more, and it cleaned it up. There were also ones where there were blight and unused or buildings being unused, and they put in light installations so it looked like the whole neighborhood was breathing. It was pretty interesting.
Cool.
Cool. All right. And the financial update, if you bear with some of the numbers, I will be as brief as I can. So essentially, we are getting $25,000 a year from the transportation occupancy tax, or TOT. We did not get any last year, and the year previous was only 15,000. So this $25,000 commitment for the next 4 years is pretty key for our fund, because we currently are anticipating ending the year with about $40,000 in our bank account. So the biggest expenses we've had, or I anticipate, is the Equitas. The Eye of Justice is the $1,200 that's going to be probably taking out this month. And then I'm not sure, this could be pushed out, but I just put it as a placeholder because we did commit to the contract with, or not contract, but to go with Lee Imminent for the repair.
And Keith, do you think, is there a need to, is the timing of the repair tied to the Civic Center remodel, or can the repair happen?
I think the repair can happen earlier if we decide that, we want both of those to be on rolling, whatever the design is. It's really up to you guys. But it is budgeted, not budgeted, but I do have it earmarked because commission did take action to fund that.
Okay.
Yep. So so we can, if it does get repaired by the end of the year, we can end the year about $40,000. And our only source of revenue currently, we had one fee for a mural, but then they rejected it, and then interest from our just interest income. That's it.
I guess we can't make a decision today, but for next time, let's talk about whether we want to. I guess I want to, in some ways, get the drummer and rooster moving through our agenda.
Okay.
So if we're going to do it, I think we should do it, and then it's ready to go, and then whenever a site is chosen for it.
Should I add that to action items at the next meeting?
Yeah, please.
Okay, will do. And that's all I have.
I just have a question. Irma, are you still there? I don't know if she's still there. She made an announcement that the city is going to be paying for some street paintings. That the Travel Salem gave 7, I think, grants, but now the city is going to. And I just was wondering, Irma, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
I was just wondering, is that coming out of your budget, or where is that
We
coming for that?
Yeah, we are receiving that from a TOT grant through the city.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we're really excited, and neighbors are really excited. For those 10 remaining neighborhood associations that did not get that grant from Travel Salem, we are going to be, or TOT will be funding that. And so that should be a huge project this summer.
Great. Yay. Thanks.
Fantastic. Any any comments or questions from commissioners or?
Nope. Good meeting.
Okay. Lots to think about there. So the frame shifted a little bit in the course of this meeting, but I would still encourage everyone to take a look at those links that
for sure
he sent around. I think from my point of view, we got some clarity on, I still think we should develop a communication for the city around the value of public art plans and how we see that they have been held and administered in other cities like ours. And recommend, to the extent that that carries any weight, that we think the city of Salem would be a good candidate for such a plan as well. And that we would be happy to expand our role if the city felt that was appropriate to work on that, to advise on such a thing, and see what comes out of that. But I think after that, maybe we would put that in a box of checking in on how that conversation might or might not be going with the city, and then tend to our spec duties. Did I see that do you want to have a comment? I saw maybe a hand went up or something. Nope. Okay. Well, if there are no more comments or questions, I think we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting for today.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. Meeting was adjourned at 3:50.